To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency. Two very big words.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. My name's Austin. Less than 12 hours ago, this just happened. President Trump addressed the nation. As a Bitcoin holder, or just as a traditional investor, he mentioned a few things that directly affect you. Number one, and listen to this clip. Number one, he is giving $50 billion to the states. Number two, he's activating something called the Emergency Preparedness Plan for hospitals. This is waiving certain regulations for hospitals. And number three, in partnership with the private sector, the FDA just approved a new test for COVID-19. So if you think you may have the virus, there's now supposedly a better test for it. Watch this.
To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency. Two very big words. The action I am taking will open up access to up to $50 billion of very important and a large amount of money for states and territories and localities in our shared fight against this disease. I'm also asking every hospital in this country to activate its emergency preparedness plan. This includes the following critical authorities: the ability to waive laws to enable telehealth. It gives remote doctors visits and hospital check-ins, the power to waive certain federal license requirements so that doctors from other states can provide services in states with the greatest need. They can do as they want. They can do what they have to do. They know what they have to do. Now they don't have any problem getting it done. Using federal emergency authorities, the FDA approved a new test for the virus. We did this within hours after receiving the application from Roche, a process that would normally take weeks. We therefore expect up to 500,000 additional tests will be available early next week. We'll be announcing locations probably on Sunday night.
Okay. Yes, this declaration, I like it. It's to keep the American people safe, one, but two, this action, like many other actions, are being taken, anything to try and stimulate this failing economy. Trump's main goal is to stimulate the economy. He's made that clear. And what this economy does in the next 90 days directly affects you as a Bitcoin holder. Now, we mentioned this the other day. The Federal Reserve just announced their biggest cash injections yet. We haven't seen injections like that before. That's 1.5 trillion with a T. They're trying to print their way out of this economic crisis. And to be fair, it's not just America. Out of that 1.5 trillion, $500 billion worth, that just happened. The Federal Reserve just printed $500 billion. That's in the economy. The People's Bank of China just printed $79 billion. European Union just printed $37 billion. South Korea, $10 billion. Bank of Japan, $2 billion. Britain just printed $39 billion. Italy just printed $8.4 billion. Wow. Hey, this is why Bitcoin was created. And you know what? I get why. You know what? It's not like that didn't work. You know, countries, billions, trillions of dollars later, we got a nice 9% pump. Of course, year to date, 9%, it's all about perspective. We got 9% today. In a lot of ways, this financial stimulation, if I may, this can be overwhelming because we haven't seen cash injections to this magnitude before on a global level. Now, of course, the big question is just how much longer, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, should we expect this economic slowdown caused by the coronavirus? How long should we expect this to go? I mean, these numbers, they're only increasing. I mean, we shouldn't expect less of this. We should probably expect more of this. So just how much more? How much longer should we expect this economic slowdown to go?
This question is for Doctors Fauci and Birx. Dr. Fauci, based on what you currently know, what is the trajectory for when this outbreak will peak? How long will the American people have to remain on this emergency footing?
So when you have an outbreak like this, particularly if you're trying to interfere with it, it's really impossible to predict the time element of when it's going to peak and when it's naturally going to go down. So if you look at the situation where countries really did not get to the point of trying to contain and mitigate very well, you see a peak over several weeks and then down again over other several weeks. What we're trying to do with the efforts that we're doing is to blunt that peak. And I mentioned it many times, and I think it's important and appropriate for me to mention it again because it answers your question. When you talk about preventing infections from without in, which is the kind of travel restrictions we're talking about, then how do you handle what you already have in your country? You continue some sort of containment, but you also do mitigation. And you try to proportion it to the areas where there are the most infections. The success of that and how much you make this turn into this is going to give you the amount of time. If we're successful, it'll be less. If we're not successful, it's going to be more. But these kind of things generally run out in a few months. Hopefully, we'll make it several weeks, 8, 9, whatever weeks. But I can't give you a number because it depends on how successful we are.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, he's basically saying hopefully as less as 8 or 9 weeks, potentially multiple months. We'll see. But again, the name of the game today was financial stimulation. Trump also mentioned some interesting announcements about student loans and oil prices. I think you're going to like this.
We're also announcing the following emergency executive actions today. To help our students and their families, I've waived interest on all student loans held by federal government agencies, and that will be until further notice. That's a big thing for a lot of students that are left in the middle right now. Many of those schools have been closed. Based on the price of oil, I've also instructed the Secretary of Energy to purchase, at a very good price, large quantities of crude oil for storage in the U.S. Strategic Reserve. We're going to fill it right up to the top, saving the American taxpayer billions and billions of dollars, helping our oil industry and making us even further toward that wonderful goal which we've achieved, which nobody thought was possible, of energy independence. It puts us in a position that's very strong, and we're buying it at the right price. And that's something that would have not even been possible a week ago. The price of oil went down quite a bit, so we're going to fill it up. There's a good time to fill it up. I'd like to ask Mike Pence to say a few words, please. PP.
PP. Interesting.
I'd like to ask Mike Pence to say a few words, please. PP. PP.
Interesting. But whatever, you get the point of these declarations. He wants the students, he giving them more money, spend it on the economy. Gas prices are going to be lower. He wants the consumer spending. He wants you spending. Maybe he wants you spending on Bitcoin. I don't know. Now, many people have been asking, why does Bitcoin keep falling? Well, you know what? I liked this tweet from Andreas Antonopoulos. You wanted institutional investors and mainstream adoption. This is what it looks like. Absent the principles of decentralization, traded as a high volatility asset to add spice to a portfolio. He's referring to Bitcoin being adopted by institutional investors, just a little spice to the portfolio. As soon as price gets uncomfortable, they drop it like a hot potato. We don't. Now, the point is, many of these institutional investors, many people, obviously, if traditional markets are tanking hard, people get scared. That's expected. Bitcoin dropped into the high 4,000s last night. Crazy. Aaron and I were going to do a live stream. None of us were home. If the price moves again, we will be doing a live stream. Hit subscribe and hit the bell notification. We potentially could see some crazy price action in these next 30 to 90 days. All right, those are the clips that I wanted to pull for you today. This whole press conference, it says 2 hours, 16 minutes. It was well over, at least probably around 90 minutes. Check it out. Again, national emergency, $1.5 trillion in cash injections from the Fed, as well as more and more countries going on lockdown. Crazy times, guys. Keep calm, carry on, and maybe Trump summed it up best.
And this will pass. This will pass through, and we're going to be even stronger for it. We've learned a lot. PP